Okay, thank you. So,
hello. Okay.
Hello. Photo Book Club of Macau would like to, first of all, to thank Fundação Rui Cunha. We are very well here, very well received here. It's always a pleasure to have this opportunity to talk about photo books and an additional opportunity to talk about such a good photo book as this one that we are going to discuss this afternoon. So in behalf of the Photo Book Club, thank you so much, not only for your presence here and the attendance, and I would like just to give briefly the floor first to Jane Lay. She is the sister of Frank Leys, and she can tell us a lot of things that are part of how Frank Leys' photography achievement was possible, and also to talk about what Jane would like to talk about regarding this matter. We also have the editor of the book, which is Alan, and Alan, of course, he will have also his opportunity to talk a little bit. I know that he doesn't want to talk too much about the book. We are not doing a launching because the book was launched already, but things that may be interesting for all of us to be aware. And finally, I would like in the third part to just briefly say something about the aesthetic and the quality of the book and the photos that were gathered here in this beautiful edition. So, without further ado, welcome, Jane, and the floor is yours.
Thank you so much for everyone here, and thank you, Foundation, and thank you, Francisco, for the invitation. And so, I think maybe we just start. So the first one is
this one, yeah, the large one.
Okay. So, so I just start with a brief introduction of Frank Ley. So he is a photographer and an artist from Macau. And he is also the former of the director of Old Ladies House Art Space, later known as Ox Warehouse. So he was born in Beijing, and he came to Macau at about the age of 10. And then at the first part, he studied journalism, and then he worked as a reporter also in Macau Daily News. And then, but maybe around 1 year, and then he started to fall in love with cinema and a new wave of French. And then he went to Paris to follow his dream. And he was entered in Université de Paris 3. And then at that time, he got a Bachelor of Cinema. And then at the same time, at the same year, he also entered to another school, École Nationale Supérieure des Arts et Décoratifs de Paris. And at that time, he started to study photography. And then in 1991, he won the first prize in an international competition in France. And I think, yeah, I mean, everyone can read. So I think the last part is about his exhibition. I think the last one that he made is in the 2017. He was invited to Strasbourg in France for the art photography in like a festival of photography there. And after, when he came back from France, 1 month later, something like that, and his cancer happened again. So, and then I think that one was his last exhibition. So, and after he passed away in 2022, actually we started to I and some friends, we started to try to sort out his negatives and hard disk, so many things and so on. And because there were so many of them, and because the studio that he have been there in Kowloon was emptied for a long time, so the environment was no longer suitable for storage. So we have to remove everything very fast to another space and to keep it better. So at that time, maybe just the year when he passed away. So we, in that summer, we moved most of his photo and negative to another place for temporary storage. So now you can see that is those photos and negatives that we found during this over there. So this is his studio in Kowloon, but now no longer exists. So at the same time, as there are so many photos and negatives left behind, they need to be sorted out properly. And I think, I hoped that at least we can make a clear catalog about what he had there. So, but that is a very big job, a very huge job. So, I have been asking some friends how I can better preserve his work. And I'm always looking for a better way to do that. So many people give some ideas, but still now I don't know which one is the better way. So I'm so worried about that these things will gradually mutate, and one day they will no longer be recognizable. So, so two of my friends, Mandy and Fiona, and also Winter, we work together and on these things. And we bought a film scanner and try to scan all his negatives into a folder and put it on the cloud, little by little, every day, one negative at a time. And there are at least a few thousand negatives there. And the work is still not yet finished, but most of the negatives of Macau have already been completed. So during the work progressed, we are very amazed by his photos, because many of which had not been seen before, and some of which were already unrecognizable. Therefore, while shutting them out, it also happened to them at the same time that publishing at least one book of these photos would be a good way to preserve them. But of course, that will make more and more work. And we also need more money, more helper, and more effort on it. But anyway, all these are worth doing, so we went ahead and did it. So, but these photos are, that you see is I just picked up some from in his studio. There are some photos when he was in Paris. So, and then, and not just, I think that why we choose to publish this book is not just because it was the most precious thing my brother have left behind, and he spent most of his life on it, but because these photos are also the proof that this place, this city, that he in fact existed in some form that most people have never seen. At some point in time, in some corner of the city, he saw that he had been there, and something had been there. So, and I remember Henri Cartier-Bresson has said that the photographer can show nothing more than the hands of a clock. So, but he chose his own moment, and just like he wanted to shout out that I was there, and that is what I see at the moment in my life. So photography is a way of realization, also a way of speaking out and the seeking of liberation. So the purpose of which is not to prove or affirm its unique originality, but photography itself is a way of life for him. So, and Hornbach also said that the photography does not show those who do not exist, but only those who were there. So the nature of photography is to confirm what he reproduced. So it is the birth of photography that supports human history. The past is as true as the present. So I think that is why I would love to have Frank's photography and properly preserved it and published. Yes, that's all. So thank you so much. And yeah, about the books, the editor, because we are so lucky now to have Alan here, so he is the editor of the book. So I think.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Hello. Okay. So I'm the editor of the book, but actually it's more than just me doing the editing work, because Jane and also her colleague Mandy and also Fiona and also Winter do a lot of job before me, before I start to edit the work. So at first I was approached by Jane at 2024 last year, and she said we want to do a book about Frank, so and his work. So what can we start? Okay. So and the first question comes to my mind is, okay, so before the first editing, my first question is, and still now I'm asking my question, what kind of book do we want to make for Frank? I mean, if you see, there's actually a lot of film and then a lot of print and everything left by Frank to us. So we need to sort it out and then try to make a sense of it, and then try to make a book in this raw materials. So the first question is, what kind of book do we want to make? If an artist or photographers recently passed away, the usual way we want to do to make a book is, for example, like pick 20 or 30 some of his most beautiful pictures, and then make a collective book and then publish it out. This is like more like the easy way to do it, and actually a lot of photographers are doing in this way. But after some careful thoughts, and we decide not to do in this way, because actually Frank's work is quite a large collective. So in this way, we will probably miss a lot of context in this method. And so we decide maybe it needs a more carefully thought to sort it out and decide which part do we going to publish first. And then after that, we will see what things we can do next, something like that. Because before I published these photo books, actually this book came earlier before. Yes, sorry. Yeah, this book came earlier before. This is a book about Frank's articles in the newspapers. So it's in Chinese. It will be maybe in English later. Yeah, let's see. Okay, so hopefully, yeah. But actually, this is the start of everything, because for the organized materials, we found his work in article is most organized. So we choose to publish this first. So the next one is about the photos. So we will start on trying to sort it out everything he has. Okay. So but before we do that, there is another question we need to ask. So if we put Frank in Macau's photography history, so what position his work belong to? So this is the most serious question I ask myself before I do the editing, because I mean, I'm sure everyone knows Frank well and he's a very good artist, but when we put it in the Macau photography history, where do we exactly put him into? And this is the, this is the main question we want to ask before we try to understand what materials we will publish first, and then do the next, and then do next. So we will talk about something about history of Macau photography, but in a very, very short way, because Macau photography is such a long one. So if we want to talk it very thoroughly, it will take hours. So I will try to simplify everything. So actually, we can divide the Macau photography history into 4 main different eras and different times, I think. So the first one is the colonial period. So if you know photography history, Macau actually is the first place to have photography in the Far East. So actually, the first photography is come from 1844. So you all know these pictures, I think. Yeah, it's taken by a French called Jules Atta. Yes. And then there's John Thompson as well. He's very famous because he come in not just visiting Macau, but also Hong Kong and Guangzhou and some place near Guangdong as well in the 1862, yeah, and to 72, yeah. So it's like a field trip. So this is actually the first development in Macau's photography history. And then you will see at that time, mainly photography is taken by the outsiders, from the Westerners, and then come to Macau, and then seeing Macau as an exotic Asian place, I think. Yeah, so very interesting. Yeah. So, and then the next one, yeah, is this is the where I belong. So it's starting like this up till before 1950s. Okay, so before 1950s, there's almost no Chinese photographers in Macau. Most of the photographers are mainly come from Westerners, and for the Chinese, they usually have the commercial photographies and opening the studios or taking the headshot of the people, usually like this. But there is no Chinese documentary photography, at least until after World War II and in the 50s and 60s, when the Macau photography societies finally start to working, yeah, in order. So we come to the second part, is the post-war development and the starting of the documentary photography. So when we are talking about 60s to 80s, so a few photographer we need to mention, yeah, is these 5. Okay, so because why do I mention these 5? Because they are the masters from the 60s. Also, they have published books and exhibition in MAM mainly. So we will see this 5 as the representative of that era of time. So for example, like Lei Yuk-tin, yeah, he's a very famous documentary photographer. And also Ao Ping and Li Gongkim also are famous one. And then you will see actually their work is mainly on the street photography side. Okay, so you can see a lot of pictures about they taking the street of Macau and that actually the time when the peoples are how they're working and the economical development at that time. Because in the 60s to the 80s, Macau start to developing in socially, also economically. So they have some very interesting work in here, so you can see. And then you can see actually their works are based on Cartier-Bresson and also other street photographies at that time, for example, like Magnums and also the photographers. So they are their works are very how do we say? It's for you can see the decisive moments in there because they admire Cartier-Bresson a lot. So they actually use his method to take their photography as well. Yeah. So, but very interestingly, these photographers all of them are not professional artists. So, for example, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, this 5, only one is working as a professional photographer. It's Lei Yuk-tin. He's a studio photographer. And the others, all of them are not. So, for example, like Ao Ping is working in Macau Daily as a treasurer. Yeah, so they are not professional photographers. They are all amateurs. So, but for amateurs, they did a really good job, and then they start to developing the Macau's documentary photography as well. So, yeah, this situation is all of this situation is continuous like this until the 80s. So, why do we need to talk about this? Because in the 90s. Okay, so in the 90s, there is the first group of students. Yes, it could come to study abroad study professional art, and then come to return to Macau and start to working as a professional artist. So this is like the first generation of professional artists in Macau. And in photography, we need to mention these two people. One of them is Wang Housang. He studied in United States and then come back to Macau. And then the other one is Frank. Frank is studying photography in French and in France, and then come back and into Macau as well. Yeah. And these two heroes are also the first generation of artist teachers in IPM, or they teach art in Macau. So it's very important, these two people, and their era is totally different from the one before them. Because as we understand before them, usually these amateur photographers who are operating the documentary photographies. But after that, we are seeing professional artists are doing their job, and their search, I mean in their photos, what they search is different from from what they are taking in the amateur photography as well before. Yeah. So this is the third, the third period. At that time, it's not just about taking the street photography's lives, and they are starting using their photographies to express themselves and to search their identity of what is Macau. And as a Macau citizens, how can we use photographies to represent ourselves? So that's what they are doing. So because at that time in the 80s to early 2000s, it's not just the social transition, and also there is the hangover of the political situation as well, because the colonial period is almost gone, and then after 1999, yeah. So they, at that time, FV people, and in Macau, need to ask what is their own identity, because are they Portuguese or are they Chinese? And this is a question they constantly, ask themselves. You can see actually from Frank's work and Wang Housang's work, they are also asking this question within their work as well. Yeah. And then after that, after 2000 and 2004, because we have the open of the gambling right and everything, and we start to have a different era of this compared to the period in the early 80s, 90s. And then we have a very diverse narratives until now. So, you can say today's our artist circle and artist world, most of them are actually a heritage of the Frank's and also Wang Housang's work, and also other artists as well during the 90s and the 2000s. Yeah. So it's very important that they are actually the teachers of the current era, the artists in the current era. So it's interesting. Yes, yeah. So when we how to organize his work, when I organize this work, I need to keep in mind this this situation, and also this Frank's ideas about the photographers. So when we search his work, which organized by Jane a lot, yeah. And then we can separate and then actually categorize his work into different, into 5 different big categories. So, for example, like his early documentary photography works is maybe during his student times. It's mainly in Europe, and then most of the works have handprints and so. And the next one is the Cuba series. Why I separate the Cuba series from the others? Because the Cuba series is like the first documentary photography series he do. He doing the 1992 and something, and also it is the first book he published in 2003. So it's quite important. It's like a starting point of his documentary work. So and then he comes
color, also in color. Which
yeah. He's in slide and also. But he has a lot of black and white pictures. Yeah. But it does not show in the old book. Yeah. So it's a lot of Frank's work actually is never published before. So it's funny if we somehow have a way have a chance later to publish his work again. Yeah, so it's good. Yeah. Also, then the next one is a big body of work. So it's documentary work mainly of Macau. So this one is quite a long time because it started to early 90s up till 2015, 16, 17 also have some. So it's more almost like a 20, 30 years work. And then it can divide into different series, and then we can sort it out and then maybe make it into books later. Yeah. Also, there's also the archival work of the art activities, because at that time, Frank also documented a lot of art activities. It's no matter musical and then music concert and then like play and something. There's a lot, and then this one become the most important archive of how we can track back what happened during of Macau at that time, because there's a lot of art activities which don't have records, and then but when we looking back into Frank's work, we can actually find the visual documentary at that time. So it's quite important. Yeah, but those part is a lot, so we need to organize maybe later. In order to make it like a serious work, because there's like hundreds of rolls of films, and then there's hundreds of slides and everything. So it's very hard work. Yeah. And also there's his family and travel photos. That's the most largest part of his collection. So and that one we also need to organize later. Yeah. So, but when we talking about these 5 categories, so we need to choose one. I mean, for me, I think it will be better to choose one to be in the book rather than I put everything together and then show in the book. Because as you can see, this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, these 5 categories are very different. So if we put them together, we will lose the context. So I will try to separate them and then pick one. Okay, so my pick is of, you can see this earlier street photography works. As you can see, Frank actually, he did a good photography job. Yeah, there's a lot of good photographers, good photographies in here. For example, like the one in the right, in the far right, actually that remind me of a bit of Eugene Smith's works. And also the middle one, it reminds me a bit about the Cartier-Bresson's work. So, but why I didn't choose this? Because that's why. Because I think the most important work about Frank is not just about the beauty of the pictures itself. It's about the historical connection between him and also the city. So when we see this work is good. Yeah, I'm sure it's good, but it lacks the connection between him and also the city itself. For example, like this one is his latest works. It's coming from the series of the Sleeping City. So as you can see, this is his late work. So it's coming from 2010, 13, 14, something like that. The time is. At that time, you see Frank. He changed his approach a lot. So he did not use the decisive moment to organize to make his pictures. You can see, for example, like this one. There's no decisive moment in these pictures, but you can see actually there is a flow in these pictures. You can see there is a clear flow of the stairs until to the road to the end, and that this one also as well. He used this format to make it like, I think, in my opinion, his work, this kind of work, is more like a movie than the photos. Everything is in emotion. So it's not the same as the one he did before, like this one. This one, you can see, all of these pictures are taking a moment. It stop a moment at a time. But this one is not. So it's interesting that we somehow need to, in doing this book, I need to reflect on this, because Frank's work is evolving from the earliest to the late. So when we're doing this work, we need to I mean, put his book in some position in all his work to compare. For example, like this one. This is his works along. So the first one is the Cuba series, and then and the next one is a book by him, and there's his photos and also articles putting together. So it's not a traditional photo books. And the next one is the city size is this series. Yeah, city size is this series. Okay. And then there's the new book is the his articles in the newspaper. So when we are organizing a book, I need to put my new photo book to fit in here, fit in the position between the Cuba series and the watching and walking. Yeah, his books. So when I try to construct and organize the book, I always keep in mind that this book is not just about a single book or a single frame of, time or something. It needs to have a connection between all his work before. So, and one very interesting idea is that because at that time in the early 90s, that's the time where I choose, early 90s to 2000 as the time I will do my book. And this time, Frank did a lot of contact street at the time. So during his contact sheet, he circled out the pictures he thinks he want to use, but never publish. So actually, in my book, in this book, in the one I was making, I have a great consideration of which photo he choose. Yeah, his choice. So it's actually this book, and most of these photos he choose himself. Actually, the photos. Yeah. So, for example, like this one, I think is one very important one. So you can see a top left one. So there is a darkening spot. There's nothing in there in the contact street. You don't know what exactly it is. But he circled it out. So I'm curious, actually. I'm curious of what actually that is. So this one, I don't know the PowerPoint is showing me. I don't know, because it's a fading portrait in the Gaza of Jane. Because at that time, we all know now the Gaza of Jane is a very nice place to visit because the government do some renovation at that time. And but then during the early 90s, at that time it's like chaos inside the house. And there's old and the new. I mean the old people means the old portraits of the older families, older family generations are living together with the new tenement. Yeah, the people who rent the place and living in there. So actually, Frank went inside and take a lot of pictures, and one of this is the fading portrait of maybe the family generation of the people living in there. So usually, if Frank didn't circle out these pictures in a normal publishing way, I won't choose these pictures. It's not clear actually. You need to see very carefully in order to see what actually it is. But when he circled out these pictures, okay, so when he circled this picture, I know this picture may be important. So I take extra cares on what this is about, and then I try to organize a storytellings with these pictures together to form a coherent story inside the book. So yeah. So and then that's how I divide the chapters in the book, because during the time I think Frank walked around the city, walked around Macau a lot. And he actually did documentary works within each area. For example, like in the first one in the Yaohan, at that time there's actually the farmlands in there. So it's hard to imagine there's farmlands in the 90s in Yaohan. So because it's an industrial areas, at that time it's also in industrial areas, but at the same time there's farmland in there. So it's very strange actually. It's very weird. But actually, he visits some farmers in there and talk with the farmers, because I can see in the pictures he does extensively documentary works around one single farmer himself. So I try to build a story with his pictures, with his context read, and also everything. Try to organize a story behind that. And also there's other places as well, the Gaza of Jane, and also the Gunam Tea House. If you are old enough, you understand Gunam Tea House. It's a tea house that gone a long time ago. So one of the very important, interesting fact is most of these places no longer exist today. So for example, like the Gaza of Jane, it looks totally different from now and then. Yeah, and also the fishermen of the interior ports, now they don't have many, because like at that time, maybe more than thousands and something like that, but today I think it's less than 300 or something fishermen still operate in Macau. So it's already gone, the time. All the pictures he's taking and all the people he's taking are all gone and then not appears in Macau again. So this pictures and all his book are actually documenting a time that is fading away and is never seen again. So it's not just about the place, it's also about the time as well. So I think it's important to make this book count, because it's not just documentary the time and not documentary the space, but also the time itself. So at the end, I put a chapter of the Macau. It's a more genuine chapter. It's like a conclusion for the peoples in Macau, because as we can see, the peoples in Macau in the 90s is totally different than the peoples in today's. There's a lot of changing. So I think it's a interesting book to see how this different chapter developing. So talking about the pictures inside. So actually, Frank did a. We can see compare his earlier works. Okay, I mentioned before his earlier works. Yeah, his earlier works is more like a Cartier-Bresson style, more resemblance from the earliest works of the master from the 60s. Yeah, so, but then we can do a comparison actually from the older generation of documentary photography of Macau and with Frank's works in this book actually. So this book, the left one is taken by Oping, yeah, and the right one is taken by Frank. Okay, so they are actually talking about the same subject. So they're taking pictures about the children's playing, but you can see actually the mood and everything is so different. Yeah, and also the background is so different from Frank's work and Oping's work. Also, you can see this one. This one is making the shipbuilding business. Okay, so during the 60s, this one is taking about 70s. In the 70s. In the 70s, Macau's shipbuilding business is actually a very important industrial business in Macau. But during the 90s, it started decaying and then gone in 2000. Yeah, so at that time, so you can see the mood is shifting a lot. So the older generation taking the pictures in a way, they showing the hard working of the people. But in Frank's work, the picture is not about the shipbuilders itself. It's more than that. It's about the fading of an era, I think. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, so for example, like this one is the St. Paul Cathedrals. Yeah, so the left one is taken by Lê Úc Thiển. It's a very classic way to show the St. Paul Cathedral. Yeah, so actually some history book use these pictures. Yeah, as showing during the 60s. But the right one is taken by Frank. Actually, it's also the St. Paul Cathedral, but he is standing behind, looking back of the St. Paul Cathedrals and taking a building, demolishing building, but the demolishing building has a structure like the St. Paul Cathedral. This is more like interesting way to show how Macau locals see the Macau, the symbol of Macau, the cathedral as a whole. I mean, it's important. Yeah, these pictures look interesting as well. Yeah. Also, this one, the left one is taken by Lê Công Kim, and the right one is taken by Frank. So these two pictures are actually taken about the same person and with the same light, and everything is almost similar. But you can see they have a different mood, and also they describe different situations in Macau as well. So, and taking these pictures in mind, because when I editing, I always going through Frank's work and also the old master work as well, because I want to do a comparison between these two generations of photographers to show the difference and also the similarity of these two photographers. So actually, you can do a lot of comparison in Frank's work as well, compared to the other photographers. Yes. Also, you can see this is the Macau. So the left one is the Macau in the old times, and the right one is the Macau starting to changing into a modern city itself. Yeah. So doing in his photos, actually, how we can adjust the colors and the contrast is mainly because I have the luxury to see a lot of handprint of Frank's. Because usually when you don't have the handprints, you just need to guess how the photographers want the contrast to be. But luckily, I have some reference. I'm into darkroom handprint, so I know exactly what the contrast Frank wants the book to be. So I think this is important as an editor, because otherwise I need to guess. I mean, maybe not correct, maybe not is in his like, because the contrast is most important things in black and white photographers, black and white photographies, because the contrast is low and contrast is high means a lot of difference, in the pictures. Yeah. So it's good to have these pictures. And for the printing, actually we use two different set of ink to print the books. One is the dark ink, and also the other one is a special type of gray ink to do compare together to make a book, and then to try to mimic the contrast of the picture itself. So we do some experiment on the pictures to try to make it look exactly as the handprint. Yeah. So that's the book. We are doing. And I think the time is almost. Okay. So anybody have some questions?
I would like just to finish, if you don't mind. Two quick things before we open the floor to question and answer. I had the good fortune to be invited by Adalberto Tenreiro, who I hope is listening this presentation. He's in Lisbon. Our friend Adalberto, which also a friend of Jane, he challenged me to write an introduction to the book, and I was perfectly amazed with the quality of the photos that were selected. We can now understand a little bit better. Of course, I'm not going to comment about that. What I would just take is a part of the introduction, a part of the presentation that I had the good fortune to write, just to explain my view on the book, my view on the selection of the photos, and the intensity of the quality of the images that we were fortunate to be seeing here collected. So just 2 minutes, I'll just read it, because it summarizes what took me some time to write and to try to express. Frank Lê lived in a time of great social, economic and urban changes in Macau, carried out not only by means of an expansion process, the extensive land reclamation areas, but also through the demolition of existing informal urban settlements or old buildings that used to shape the traditional city and its way of living. He was able to portray these transformations with a deep sense of belonging, humanity, however, also of loss. Frank's photography went far beyond a simple documental registration of the physical changes of a place, demolitions, urban areas being reshaped, etc., so on and so forth, by looking at the ones that were visibly left behind. These sometimes not being able to hide their astonishment at what they were seeing around. Perhaps we can just see the other presentation. This may, can I see the other? It's a PDF of the book, one of the not the final version, but. Just going through some of those also to highlight. Can you just pass? Okay. Frank was able to stress his understanding of photography as a humanist act of seeing, and as such allowing others to see what he was witnessing and conveying to us. As highlighted in this book, Frank was able to portray the dramatic changes of Macau in the last decade of the 20th century, being the demolition of temporary squatters in Ilha Verde, the economic changes and decaying of the fishing and shipyard industries that you've talked about, the almost inexorable path of heritage building, such as the Mandarin House, fortunately subject to a later rehabilitation process, the traditional places of gathering and sociability, such as the tea houses, some of them unfortunately already lost or reshaped, or the common citizen's life and his way of expression and joyfulness, in particular the youngsters. Frank photographs about Ancient Island are paradigmatic as well. They are an illustration of his capability to understand and portray the ending of the genius loci of that place. However, he was also able to guess and give us his understanding of what would become in the near future. Frank's visual sensibility of composition, scale, and balance of light and shadow, sometimes conveying deep dramatic shadows, which are amazing, to picture Macau as a land of perpetual change and new times to come, allow us to further understand this city and its human identity. In Frank's photography, space is always conveyed through a human scale, which enhances its significance and role. In the last part of this book, Frank's vision of a contemporary Macau, such as conveyed in the photographs of the bridges, which are a kind of a paradigmatic symbol, may be understood as visual symbolic signs of a new era to come that, unfortunately, he could not witness and portray it as we would like as well. Thank you. So I think we could open the floor to questions about Frank Lay's work. The fantastic explanation about how to build a book. It's how to build an identity, how to build a vision, and also Jane's understanding and Jane's portrait of his as brother, as a person that she followed until good and bad times as well. Any query?
Milestone. I don't have any question. I still want to digest the book, and I'm very curious. But thank you very much for all of you that have put together this great effort. And at the end, we have something that is substantial about Frank Lai, which we thought we wouldn't see anything else that would be coming out from. But in fact, there is, I think, something maybe more to come. Yeah, so we are happy. I mean, congratulations for your effort. It was great to I view here.
Yeah. Actually, we are going to maybe doing and later. I mean, in this year, we will probably have 2 exhibitions about Franks as well. So it's different aspect, and as I said before, there's a lot of materials of Franks which haven't published and haven't shown before. So maybe in later this year, we will have an exhibition on that as well. So we will try to build a collection of Frank's works and try to make it seen by Macau, the people here.
I also wanted to thank you both for your work and Jane's enormous effort in going through archiving all the pictures of Frank. And I was very impressed by what you said and how you deconstruct the work of Frank. I thought that is really impressive. I learned a lot by listening to you, and very happy to know that there are people like you in Macau making very significant work and documenting. I have a question, which is more or less a personal question about Frank and his point of view, which is, in your opinion, how does his point of view as a reporter come across in his point of view as a photographer? As I remember him as always being very bubbly. He was always very critical about everything, but in a very nice and simple way. I mean, I can feel a lot of things in the pictures about him. I would like to know what you think about that. Those 2 points of view, how they come together in the pictures.
I think yes. So as a Frank, maybe you will feel that he's a very gentle people, always smiling and always very kind to people, to friends, to family, etc. But as an artist or a citizen of this city, he always keeps his angry or critiquing things that he's seen, and actually all these are in this box. So you will read, because some friends told me that, but when they saw this, because not many people read his articles in newspaper, because that is so separated and it's finished. I think he stopped writing when he first gets brain cancer in 2004. So, and then from 2004 till he passed away, so there's long time that we cannot, people didn't read his articles about general things, cultural critics. So when some young people read and told me that they are so surprised, I don't know Frank will write like this, so angry, so critical, and they are surprised because when they meet Frank, he is always smiling and gentle. And they think they're completely another people when he is writing. So but for me it's true. So it's him, yeah, himself.
Because I was working with Frank in the Hangqin project during his later years. So it's really surprised for me to reading this book about his articles about the social injustice of Macau. So it's very interesting, because when you talk with Frank, as a friend, he's quite gentle actually. But this article is not. So it's quite a contrast. And also that's why when I did this book, I read this book before I do this book, because this is important, because they are actually the two sides of the same coin. Actually, because when you are reading these photo books, you can actually find the reference from here as well. Because when some of the articles he mentioned something, actually you can find it in these pictures. So it's very, very interesting to do a comparison between the two. I mean, if you know Chinese, then it will be even better. But it's funny to do this comparison because normally you don't see this in photographers, because photographers seldom write a lot of articles, especially in a very long spread of time. But Frank have the opportunity to do this because he write constantly in the newspaper during the late 90s up till 2004, 2005, and something like that. Yeah, so it's interesting to do a comparison between these two as well.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
Stereo.
Incredible. I think it's incredible to get such a dense work done and try to distill it into a book. You know, that's an incredible miracle job, really. Thank you so much for all the levels of effort. Because it's really difficult because when you know an artist, right, that has left so much work, not just painting, not just photography or painting or whatever artist we have in Macau, that doesn't publish so much, because you see just a few books from each decade or so, right? But then he has so much work, archive, and you dig so deep. It's I mean, it's a miracle that you guys really felt the need and the passion to emerge all this information out again and revive and really put it in the history of Macau photography. Because it will be you guys doing this now that he will be in the history of Macau photography. If no one does that, he will be forgotten. So it's a really incredible job. And looking back, looking to the future, I don't know if you consider to, organize the whole thing and then give it to MAM, Macau Art Museum, or archive, because those who are interested to research about Macau photography, Macau history, there should be somewhere safe, right? Somewhere with good conditions. I'm not sure if these two places are the right place, but definitely should be under maybe the government,
Some kind of protection.
Protected, accessible. Accessibility is the most important, digital-wise, archival-wise. So in order to preserve and bring it to future generations, the things that you already done, and maybe what's to come, put it accessible to the public, general public. Actually, we are fortunate to be here and hear this out. I don't know where to buy the book. You should tell us. Yeah, it's beautiful job, incredible. Just thank you so much.
Thank you. So.
Yep. No, about Frank's collection. Actually, Frank, after he passed away, his family and also Jane collect Frank's photo book mainly and donate to us. So actually, we are organizing them. And if you know me, I'm actually from a photo collective called Dialect. So we have a small photo libraries in Macau, near Barra. So actually, the book are organizing and then maintaining, and maybe later in this year we will put them to show in the public, so everyone can read Frank's collection in a way. Yeah, I think that's what he wants people to access as well. Yeah. So
there's only the part of books that Frank collects, because he's also
a lot
like to collect books of photos and art. But about his negatives and hard disks, actually, of course, I want maybe some place to preserve them more properly than me now. Just put it in an office to do the scanning. But Actually, I also asked it someone who worked in the museum, but actually I'm not so believe the government. so and I also think that before to sending to them, if they really want to keep it, I would like to do it firstly in our way. So in the books and exhibition, because I'm not sure after that what they will do about this, because after we donate all this to the museum, and of course I hope they can preserve them well, and they will organize exhibition or they will publish book, but nothing we can do. It's all organized by them, their choice, their taste, and you see what happened now. So I'm not so, so before to donate, maybe one day we will donate, but now we just want to try our efforts to do something.
Like you explained, this is a process, this is one book that others will follow regarding the sequence of work.
Yes.
So we'll have other opportunities to discuss about other books, hopefully. This is a process interesting because what we understood is that you have created a route how to make exposure, how to make visible the Frank Lay's outstanding work to others. It's a process. You could select another thing like traditional, as you mentioned, but this is a very interesting way of giving this perspective. Is like this book is what amazed me also is the way we can understand the way how he was looking to Macau, his humanist eyes, his sense of scale, these kind of things that we is not just a couple of photos in the middle of a assemble of photos. This gives us a path to a better understanding of his vision, his scale, his understanding of the power of photography.
And also local are very important, I think, too. Friends always want to push more local activities, cultural activities, artist activities. So I think that is his wish also to do it in local way, in a more, not for officials. Maybe one day also can do it in official way, but firstly, the local artists is more want to support more.
I had not the chance to personally know Frank Lace. I had not that chance, but whenever I talk regarding photography enthusiasts from here, from Macau, everybody talks about his outstanding teaching skills and his interest in giving his knowledge to the students, to other people, explaining them what is photography, what photography can achieve. So I think this is a very, very interesting base point, and I think it's worthwhile highlighting. There are a lot of people that we know, that we cross in our understanding of the art movement of Macau, that are sons of the knowledge of Frank Lace, which is very interesting. Probably you are one of them as well.
Yeah. It is. Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
I think.
Also, I think people can buy the books now in Macau. Almost every bookshop, even the traditional one, they have them already. And also Portuguese bookshop. I think that is the first bookshop that I gave. And then Bintu Bookshop, and then the
Portuguese bookshop, they have it's there as well.
Also some traditional Chinese bookshop.
Even in dialect.
Even
in dialect, in the photo library, we have copies.
Yeah. It's a very good place. I hope everyone can go to visit.
It's not a bookshop, but we have the copies. You can still buy it in there.
Yeah, and then in Hong Kong, many bookshop in Hong Kong can buy it, and also in Taiwan, and also you can buy it on the website, because there are some big website that you can buy books.
And also you can PM Francisco.
Yeah.
He can actually
And we've been talking also to bring some of the books to Portugal, because there's a I think there's a potential for this book to call the attention for people interested in photography. We have our worlds over there, our as well.
Yeah, I would like to.
As well, but that's of course it's not in a smaller scale than what you have here, but the book is available in those usual places. Any more questions? No? So we may end this session. Thank you all for your attendance, and good to talk about photography and progress.